Welcome back to yet another episode of The Royals on the Road. Today marks the 22nd episode of this podcast and the first one of the new year 2023. We hope you had a wonderful 2022 like all of us in the Royals family, and may 2023 be the year where we finally get to cross the finishing line, get our hands on the coveted trophies. Yes, the emphasis is on the S, and see all our endeavors be successful. New Year brings new opportunities, new challenges, and this time it has brought a new addition in the Royals family as the Paarl Royals gear up for the inaugural South African T20 League. We'll talk about them as well as other things that are happening in the world of cricket, with currently India playing a decider against the Asian champions Sri Lanka. There's really so much on our plate to discuss. Joining us all the way from Madurai, we have fellow Super Royal Dinesh Babu. Welcome, sir. How's it going?
All good. So excited for this year to 2023. So may this year be ours.
We also have our other Super Royal joining in. Welcome to the show, Super Royal Arjun.
Hi there, Upayan. It's great to be here.
Really glad to have you guys. So let's start with the ongoing Sri Lanka T20 series. It's a new look India side with a new captain in Hardik Pandya. So far, India hasn't done remarkably well under his captaincy, but they've always managed to put up a good fight. With the T20 World Cup just a bit over a year away, India will try to find a permanent solution for their ever existing problems. Dinesh, if I could start with you, based on this series at least, could you identify some obvious problems for Team India? And if you were Rahul Dravid, how would you address them?
Well, the obvious problems that I would say is the selection of a playing 11 from the squad, actually. I would say, I mean, the teams have been picked based on the reputation, even in the World Cup, if you could say. The team was actually picked based on the reputation of the players, but this time around, the seniors missing out in the T20. It's a good sign that the youngsters are actually stepping up, and especially Indian T20 squad is looking up. I mean, is being looked to be captained by Hardik Pandya at least till this World Cup, and they have some solid plan under this plan actually. So what I see is uh, the consistency of the winning rate is what bothers me at this point of time. But it's too early to worry about that, given the fact that Hardik has actually taken up the captaincy just a few months back. But we need to have this as a concern as well, because with the World Cup coming up and with the T20 World Cup coming up, you don't have much of the time to actually to sort out, and you don't afford to take time to sort out your 11 and to sort out your weakness and go with a bang bang team. So having said that, there are some problems that popped up very recently, like Rishabh Pant. I mean, unfortunately, went into a horrible accident, and Rishabh Pant in the subcontinent can be a dangerous player. I totally agree. He's not in the form. He's not actually in the numbers for the last 1 or 2 years. But all of us are probably very sure that what he could bring into the table once he is in the 11. So, having said that, Sanju Samson, his potential replacement. It's quite unfortunate that Sanju Samson has unfortunately stepped out due to that injury that happened in the first T20. So things are not happening in India's way, but hopefully we bounce back. We need to play with a solid playing 11 and make sure that we have sorted out playing 11. Uh, I mean, sorted out at least before this World Cup. And sorting out the playing 11 is the immediate concern that I feel. And yes, as you asked about Hardik Pandya, I loved his approach of taking the challenge face to face, because in the press meet and in the interviews and even during the toss, he mentions that he just wants to put his team under the challenge, under the radar, so that it's not going to be a cakewalk where they are just going to prepare this team for a tougher challenge. So I love that approach. So when you have answers for the tougher challenge, I think things become so easy. So I love this approach. We may not have spotted a winning team right now, but I'm very sure that we could possibly get a sorted out playing loan for this World Cup.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's pretty insightful how you say this. Coming to you, Arjun. You see, Hardik Pandya, as Dinesh mentioned himself, is also growing as a captain, and
We see that India is also trying to restructure the T20 side for the upcoming World Cup in 2024. Uh, you know, before I ask you your thoughts about Hardik Pandya, the captain, just want to understand that do you feel this is the end of road for guys like Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, given the fact that both have not been considered for selection in the current T20 series and in the upcoming T20 series versus New Zealand? Also, Hardik Pandya, the thing about him is that, he's been a pretty flamboyant character for the media since his career started, and he's matured over the years, but nobody would have really given him, nobody would have considered him as a future India captain. So, your thoughts on what is there for the players who have, been a significant part of our past in the T20 format, and about the new captain?
Talking about Hardik Pandya, the captain, I think he has shown with Gujarat how good he is in terms of, picking up a bunch of good players, and having a coaching staff around him will really help him. It In Nehra's case, he has been a huge help for him. And now with Rahul Dravid, he's learning the team and learning how to, balance out the squad alongside the youngsters, especially. So the youngsters, with the youngsters around, I think it's gonna be difficult for him to, understand how they, take how their roles are defined in space of 3 matches. I don't think it will be easy for him. But over time, let's say in Gujarat's case, they started to peak in the middle of the tournament. So if we look at and compare it with the Indian team, the more he captains them, the better the team will get alongside him, and the coaching staff will really need to help him in that journey. About the Indian players, the senior players, I think it should be the end of the road for most of them, if not all of them. Especially the guys like Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli and Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Ravi Ashwin, to name a few. I think those guys have had played a lot of T20 internationals for India over the last 10, 15 years. So I think they have to give way. If they come back, then I think the Indian team hasn't done well with them in the last two World Cups, and I don't see them doing any better in the next T20 World Cup. So we have to build around the young squad and ensure that our team has the best chance to winning the T20 World Cup next year. If these youngsters don't perform there, then it will be okay. At least we change the system and brought a new set of players. But at least that would be okay. But then again, if the youngsters uh, are gonna fail, then I don't think it will be much of a problem. So yeah. So at the end, I think that for the senior players, I don't see a road at all. And for the youngsters, I think they have to be given a chance so that they can succeed, if not in 2024, maybe in 2026.
Right. You know, wait, did you have to say something, Dinesh? No. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
So,
just a top up on what Arjun actually told.
sure.
So, just I mean, when you ask me, will it be the end of the road for the seniors? I would say it's. Let me like to rephrase it as leaving the way for the youngsters. I would say because that's what had happened in 2007. I would say first Sachin Tendulkar, Rahul Dravid, and Saurav Ganguly. You know how big names these guys were back in 2007, and when the inaugural 2007 World Cup had actually been announced in the year 2006 and 2007, these three guys had actually voluntarily stepped out of the scene so that they made sure that the younger side gets into the T20 frame, and rest is history. So I mean, to whoever's watching and whoever feels it offensive to see Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli stepping out and being made to step out of the squad, I would say it's for the better of the team, and it's just the term leaving the way for the youngsters and for the better of the team.
Definitely. Team India has seen this infusion of new blood, and this transition has usually been a smooth process for us over the years. We've seen how the baton has been passed from captain to captain, from former greats to new young talents. Speaking of one young such talent, We saw that 2022, of course, ended on a rather sour note with Rishabh Pant suffering a road accident. Prayers for his speedy recovery are always there. And 2023 started with yet another piece of bad news as Royal skipper Sanju Samson was ruled out of the T20 side due to the knee injury. So, as we hope and pray that Chetta recovers soon and is back to his original self, it's something that we couldn't help but notice about his exclusion from the ODI setup. Arjun, coming to you, what do you feel? Sanju Samson's absence in the ODI squad, is it yet another selection blunder from Chetan Sharma and his committee, or is the BCCI done with its shortlist of 20 players for the World Cup, within which yet again a talented player doesn't find his place?
I think 20 players, the list is too rigid to have, considering the World Cup is 9 months away, and you got to give them, the time, the players that are in, and those players that are not in the squad, they will also need to be given a chance as well to, broaden the, the selection criteria, the selection scope for the players that are not in the squad. So in terms of looking at the overall picture, I don't think 20 players is a good idea, specifically because of the workload management and stuff. If they are in terms of Sanju, then I think they don't have him shortlisted for the 20 players, which is kind of disappointing. But I can understand where they're coming from because Sanju hasn't played that many ODIs in the recent past. So I think for him to be selected and given a chance, that 20 list of players has to be, made maybe 25 or 30, and then maybe he can get a game or get a look in. So hopefully they'll do that, and if they don't, then I don't see the Indian team, uh, carrying those set of players, all of them, to the World Cup either. So yeah, it's going to be a tough road ahead for Team India with those 20 players and not having Sanju around as his replacement.
Absolutely, and the thing is that I'm not sure if the decision for the shortlist of 20 players, whether it is final or not. But I suppose that since there's no such list which has been given out specifically from the BCCI, it's probably not final. But the team is probably looking at that direction. Once, of course, one can't help but notice that the only Rajasthan Royals player to feature in the ODI setup currently is our UZ Chahal. He's a key player for both the country and the franchisee, and especially in pitches of India, you would always want to have him in your side. But coming to you, Dinesh, who else do you see from Rajasthan Royals making it to the India squad for the World Cup at least?
Yeah, just about just like your last question, I would like to see Sanju Samson, not because of he is a royal or not because I have a personal liking towards Sanju Samson, but because of the fact that because of the X factor that he brings to the side, I would say. And also, having said previously that Rishabh Pant has unfortunately undergone a horrific, unfortunate accident, so that puts up a factor that you need to go to the World Cup with at least two wicket keepers, two full-time wicket keepers in your squad, with Ishan Kishan being the sure candidate in the squad. And KL Rahul can be that part-time wicket keeper, but I'm not so sure about his full-time wicket keeping ability. So having said that, you, because of the point that you need to have two wicket keeping batsmen for the World Cup, so that you just don't juggle with things when someone gets injured at the last moment. So I would like to see Sanju Samson in the squad, not because, as I said, not because it's a Super Royal show, or not because we are a bit inclined towards the Royals, but because of the fact that uh, the X factor that he brings to the side, as I mentioned earlier, and the situation around and the circumstances are actually asking for a wicketkeeper to be added to a squad other than Ishan Kishan. So I see Sanju Samson could actually be a good replacement for Rishabh Pant, provided he doesn't make to the squad. So and even if Sanju Samson has to be in the squad, it should be made sure that he gets a good amount of match exposure, good amount of ODI exposure before the World Cup. So if that could happen, I think Sanju Samson in the squad wouldn't be a bad option or would be a regretful decision at all.
Absolutely, absolutely. Arjun, your take on this? Any Royals player you, apart from UZ, you would want to see in the ODI setup?
I think Prasidh Krishna is a great prospect. He has performed reasonably well
He's a
in
left
the
armer also.
ODIs that
Yeah,
have been. Yeah, so
I
he
think he's a
has.
left armer. Yeah, a left armer.
I mean, left armor. So I don't know about the left armor thing, but for at least for Prasidh Krishna, I think he has performed, reasonably well in the Indian ODIs. He played against England uh, a year and a half ago, where he took wickets with the new ball and also picked up wickets in the middle overs as well. So I think those kind of bowlers will be key. The uh, in the recent past, India has struggled, in terms of picking up early wickets with Bumrah not being around and Siraj being in and out of the squad. And the other players are also, not playing consistent ODI cricket. So I think Prasid can be the one that can be, looked at in terms of whether he will get a chance in the World Cup or not. Plus, he's injured right now, so that's a worry for not only for Rajasthan but for the Indian team as well. Hopefully, he'll get fine, and we'll have him there in the World Cup squad. Not if not in the World Cup squad, at least playing ODI cricket regularly.
Yep. Also, a correction from my part. Pardon for mentioning Prasid as a left
Yeah,
armer. He's a right armer. I just happened to forget.
yeah, it happens.
Akshat Jain asks us to rate Surya Kumar Yadav's wonderful century against Sri Lanka today. Anyone who's watched that innings, I personally was following from Crickbuzz, and based on the comments that I saw, I think it was pretty amazing. I missed watching it live.
Yeah, I
Anyone?
saw a few
Well,
shots.
it's
I think it's the typical Sanju innings. Oh, sorry, typical Surya innings where he comes in and starts to dominate the bowlers from the get go. Plays his sweeps and lofted extra cover drives and the pulls, and then when he gets settled in, then he goes straight down the ground as well. Brings out his scoop and all those shots in the first 60 runs that I saw. He brought them all those shots uh, to the to the ground and entertained the spectators. And after that, we've been here, so yeah. Hopefully, we'll get to see the highlights very soon.
Yep, and watching him is like watching a T20 highlights package itself,
Yeah.
because his innings is always filled with boundaries and everything. Very recently, Shoaib Akhtar said that he would want to have him ahead of EB de Villiers given his 360-degree batting ability. So that's a massive compliment for him. Moving on, coming to the bowling front of our ODI setup that has been selected at least for the Sri Lanka series, we see Jasprit Bumrah is back in the ODI setup after what seems like ages. There's been a plethora of fast bowlers starting from Shami to Umran Malik, mostly new talents like Siraj, who are regular in their IPL franchise, but who have also just started it out in international white ball. So there's been some notable exclusions as well in the form of Bhuvneshwar Kumar. Dinesh, how do you view this selection? And given the fact that we will be playing the World Cup in India, and most of our ODI matches are going ahead into the World Cup are situated in India, how much of a threat do you expect our fast bowlers to be given from the ones that we have picked?
Well, as you mentioned about Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I think he's someone who's actually been rested, I would say. But I would be really disappointed if I see him not in the squad, or at least in the 20-member squad of the World Cup. Because, as you mentioned, the World Cup happening in the subcontinent, we all know how good a bowler Bhuvneshwar Kumar is with the new ball. Actually, we've seen number of bowlers who've been pacey, who can bowl over 150. I mean, over 140, and someone like Umran Malik who could go beyond 150. But having someone like Bhuvneshwar Kumar who could just pace around 130, 135, and still be able to move the ball around inwards and outwards, and that would be the key, I would say. And I would like to take the World Cups that India played in 2011 in the subcontinent, where Zahir Khan was instrumental. Zahir Khan was considered to be an old wine, was an experienced candidate, but just just take that as a sample space and consider the wickets that he had given. Consider and look back at the new ball overs that he had actually given for India. I think Bhuvneshwar Kumar could be that bowler for India, I would be really surprised and shocked if I don't see him in the 11. And also, I would have named Deepak Chahar as well, but Deepak Chahar, as you know, has been in and out of the squad and he is a bit injury prone. He has got the same potential as like Bhuvneshwar Kumar, and he gives an edge over Bhuvneshwar Kumar with the fact that he is a handy hitter. Deepak Chahar is a very handy hitter, but unfortunately he's been injury prone and has been on and out of the squad for franchise cricket and also for the international squad. So since you've asked, the pitches are going to be a bit on a slower track as much as I expect because it's going to be a subcontinental pitch and India would actually love to grab the World Cup yet again after that 2011 triumph. So having said that, I mean you need to have a home team friendly pitch. I would say a spin friendly pitches or a slow tracks would actually benefit India, not just India. The subcontinental teams would actually get benefited out of it. So when we expect such slow tracks and spin friendly tracks, it would be very lethal to have someone like Bhuvneshwar Kumar who could actually operate 6 or 7 overs in the trot in the first 10 or 15 overs. So that would be very key. That would be very crucial. And as you told, Jasprit Bumrah back into the squad is a more welcome news, and we have been all waiting for that this particular news uh, of Jasprit Bumrah coming back to the squad. So we have a lethal bowler in the form of Jasprit Bumrah. We have a conventional swinger of the ball, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, and we have good spinners as well. And we have got a good part-time fast bowler like Hardik Pandya. So it would be a very exciting tournament if we get to see a number of slow tracks for this World Cup.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like pacers, we also have a plethora of spinners. We see Kuldeep Yadav is playing a prominent role in the ODI setup. He's been recalled as well, starting from the Bangladesh tour. We see Yuzvendra and Kuldeep. We might just get to see Kulcha partnership yet again. But again, like the question does arrive whether you want to have Jadeja and Aksar alongside one of Kuldeep or Chahal, or you want to play both Kuldeep and Chahal and play either of Aksar or Jadeja. So that is also a conundrum that Team India will have to think about. Moving on, and we've just received a few tidbits from the Indian cricket team about how the BCCI has made yo-yo and DEXA fitness tests mandatory for selection. It's an open question to both of you. Of course, fitness is a really important aspect of such a high performance sport, and players have, of course, prioritized it with the likes of Virat Kohli leading the race. But in the past, we've seen that certain players who were the right candidates for certain roles, they were looked over just because of their fitness. Case in point being Ambati Rayudu in the 2019 World Cup. So, given the fact that Indian wicketkeeper batsman Rishabh Pant himself is returning from a massive injury, and the team would ideally want to have him in the Border Gavaskar Trophy starting next month, how much do you think this policy is correct for a sport where skill also comes in as handy as fitness? And do you think that the team will be tempted to tweak it as and when the situation arises?
I mean, the fitness yo-yo test was used before in the past as well, if I can recall. So I think the team's fitness has deteriorated somewhat because of the injuries that's been happening to many of them, especially the bowlers, and they've been going to the NCA and getting fitter, and then again they're getting injured. Bumrah's case in point. So I think this will help them in terms of maintaining themselves better, preparing themselves better pre-match, especially. So I think it's a decent step. It's a step that was probably shouldn't have been dispensed away with in the past either. So I think it's a good step. The bowlers will be helped tremendously when you know this policy comes into force whenever it does happen. So yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a good policy. About Dexa, I don't know exactly what's it about, but if that's similar to yo-yo, then it will also help the cause for the Indian team. I think the fitness is really key, especially in this current cricketing environment where the fielding is also deciding the matches far often than before. So I think this will really help the Indian team.
I just googled actually. DEXA scans are considered the gold standard for body fat testing and your skeletal bones analysis and stuff. So I guess yeah, it's probably yet another crucial aspect of fitness tests. Dinesh, your thoughts on this new rule that is being put in the BCCI policy?
It's a very it's a welcome
Sorry.
decision for me, but I would also it's a welcome decision in my opinion. I would say because cricket is being played in three formats, unlike a decade or a couple of decades back, where only two formats of game was actually being played, tests and one day. But since the players are actually being subjected to a lot of pressure these days, where they have to represent their team in the white ball cricket, not just in ODIs but also in T20, which is happening in lots and lots. And also, they need to make sure that they are a reliable player. There are reliable players for their franchise cricket as well. So, having said that, it's a very a welcome decision, as I would say, because it would set the measure of the fitness of the player. And to your question, Arjun, about DEXA test is checking the quality of the bone, where you check for a condition named osteoporosis, where you check the quality of that bone and how prone is that bone for the fractures. So if you could see, the quality of the bone is what determines the fractures and the match fitness. So DEXA test will give a detailed report of the quality of that bone and how often it could actually get fractured. So that could give a proper measure of your bone structure or skeletal structure, as Upayan had actually mentioned. But I also like to mention that for tests, I think for test matches, I would say DEXA and yo-yo test couldn't be the measure or shouldn't be the measure, as I would say. Even the players who were not athletic were actually successful in the test format. If you see Rahul Dravid, he himself is not an athletic structure. If you could remember, he's actually someone who is not someone who is capable of turning the twos into threes. He's someone who is so much focused on the conventional running and conventional fitness. So when it comes to test, I would say being match fit is all that is required, rather than being athletic or being yo-yo fit or DEXA fit. I would say DEXA fit can be a measure for all three formats, whereas yo-yo couldn't be or shouldn't be the measure for tests alone, because tests is all about the endurance and not just about the athleticism. So I would say, at least for the white ball cricket, both these tests should be mandatory, and tests should be spared. Test matches and test formats should be spared from this yo-yo test, as it's all about the endurance, and athleticism is not the creed or the factor that you should be expecting when it comes to test matches, whereas endurance is something that you need to check out for. And having said that, you've seen the players who were not athletic, like previous Lakshman, Rahul Dravid, Saurav Ganguly, and even Virendra Sehwag had been part of a test squad, and they were so successful till their retirement. And Anil Kumble, not to forget Anil Kumble. So these guys were able to shine, no matter, despite the fact that they were not athletic. So I think test match structure is a bit different, which could actually be spared from the yo-yo test, and DEXA test could be the measure for all the three formats, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So here's hoping that Rishabh Pant does get match fitness by the end of this month, so that we see him smashing Nathan Lyon all over the park in the Border Gavaskar Trophy. Moving on from India to the southernmost tip of the African continent, the inaugural South African T20 League starts next week. And the opening match is, of course, MI versus Royal. Beg your pardon, it's MI Centurion versus the Paarl Royals. A lot of similar flavor for us Indian cricket fans, different time zones, different locations, but same teams, same franchises. Of course, we do know that the success of a T20 league is guaranteed if a Royal franchise happens to lift the title in the first season. So here's hoping that the South African league does become a huge success and the trophy travels to Jaipur. Sorry, not Jaipur, Paarl, right? Jokes apart, it's serious business from day one in the league as David Miller's Royals take on Rashid Khan's star-studded MI Centurion. A little bit about the opponent. They've got some really high-profile names in the likes of Rashid himself, Sam Curran, Kagiso Rabada, and former Royals like Liam Livingstone, Rassi van der Dussen, and of course, Jofra Archer. As a Royals fan, the most difficult thing for me personally will be seeing Jofra play against us. But again, he's returning after a long hiatus, and we want to wish him well. Paarl, of course, has their own set of galaxy of stars. Along with skipper David Miller, we have World Cup winners in the likes of Owen Morgan and our very own Joshi Bhai, and of course, Jason Roy. I'll leave it to the panel to discuss what they think is the perfect first 11 for this side. Dinesh, Arjun, your thoughts on the inaugural Paarl Royal 11?
Yeah, it would sound like a fantasy 11, but do bear with me because I don't know how realistic it would be. But yeah, I would go with two J's, Josh Butler and Jason Roy. Obvious, very
Yeah.
obvious that these both will be the successful openers for Paul Royals because we've seen a lot of such performances from these two guys for England. And Mitchell Van Buren is such an exciting talent. I would love to see him playing those 360-degree shots. I've just watched a snippet of his batting, where he was actually. It actually wonders me how South Africa is able to produce 360-degree players like AB de Villiers, Faf du Plessis, and Dewald Brevis, and Donovan Ferreira. Who has been picked for the Rajasthan Royals in this auction? I could remember Joburg Super Kings and Paul Royals were fighting for Donovan Ferreira in the CSA auction table. So what I would say, like to say, is Mitchell Van Buren going for those big knocks, and David Miller, as all of us know, an ex-Royal, whom we actually regret missing in the Rajasthan Royal squad. I think he could actually cash in. So David Miller is my number four, and Corbin Bosch, who was actually a Royal last time around. He made a star entry during the playoffs and the finals. Corbin Bosch is my number five, and following Corbin Bosch, two all-rounders, Ferisco Adams and Evan Jones, the potential all-rounders who could actually hit the ball long and could actually deliver goods with the ball as well. And Ramon Simmons, Caribbean power. I'm Ramon Simmons, I'm just pulling him in the squad just because I'm not going to mention Obed McCoy because I read somewhere, I'm not sure if it is official or not. Obed McCoy is recovering from an injury or is not a sure starter for the first match. So I'm not sure. So if Obed McCoy is missing in the first match, I think Ramon Simmons
I think
is going to
he's
be in
ruled out
the
of the
playing 11 for
tournament.
me. And
Yeah, I think he's ruled out. Yeah.
yeah, if that could be right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ramon Simmons comes in place of Obed McCoy, and John Fortune and Tabre Shamsi are going to be the spinners because Tabre Shamsi is going to be the leg spinner. We all know how tricky he is actually, and being a left arm leg spinner is going to be really really tricky and challenging for the batsman to actually pick. And John Fortune would be an interesting pick as well to see how his left arm bowling would come into effect. And Lungi Ngidi would be my number 11. So I think I'm not sure if this looks like a fantasy 11, but this is the best I could organize for this playing 11.
So who would you have as your wicketkeeper batsman? You mentioned Butler. There's also Dane Villas. Would you consider him, or do you think Butler should be the one keeping?
But Butler should be the wicket keeper. While it comes to IPL, I would say Sanju Samson could be the wicket keeper just because he's the skipper, and you need to take those DRS calls. You need to make sure the players are there in their correct spots. But I think Josh Butler being the wicket keeper not just gives you a bowling option instead of the South African counterpart. Wicket keeping counterpart, but it also it also brings the experience of Josh Butler, the international experience or the IPL experience of Josh Butler into the play. And whenever it comes to DRS, taking DRS, and whenever it comes to field placements, Josh Butler behind the stumps would be a very good option that I would like to say. So, and also having Josh Butler is sure starter, and why not him be a wicket keeper? So if you have him as a wicket keeper, you could have an additional bowler who could bat, or a batter who could bowl. That could give you a variety in the playing 11.
Right on. There's some interesting matchups actually in the MI versus Royals match that we have. Josh Butler versus Jofra Archer it seems like a contest that is going to make people smack their lips. There's the battle of the wrist spinners between Tabrez Shamsi and Rashid Khan himself, and of course the battle of pace between Kagiso Rabada and Lungi Ngiri. So there's a lot of matchups, lot of battles that we would get to see in that match. Arjun, any particular battle that you're waiting to see, or you are waiting to look for?
Yep, nothing more special than seeing, Jofra Archer bowl to Joss Butler. I mean, it hasn't happened before, I think. If it has, maybe in the past in some English league. So I think that would be the marquee contest to start off the South African league. I think for Royals, it's going to be very important to, settle in the team, you know, pick a bunch of players that you think are going to perform in the early stages of the tournament, and don't make much changes. At the start, we are often tend to make too many changes, especially in a new league when you start to lose matches. So just pick a bunch of 11 players, stick with them, maybe make a change here and there depending on the opposition or conditions. But yeah, overall, I think you should be, balanced and, calmer in your approach early in the tournament. Look for a couple of wins here and there, and then move forward. As far as the battles goes, Jofra Archer versus Joss Butler would be one of the top battles, and I am also seeing Ollie Stone there. So I think if he is around, then he will be a good battle with Joss Butler, and the guys like Owen Morgan and Jason Roy and all the English top order. The English flavor is clearly there at the start of the tournament in this first match.
Definitely. And also, let's not forget, Revolt Bravis is also there in the MI setup. It's just a setup which has just so many stars. I mean, they've taken out the blueprint from the Mumbai Indians from IPL, that keep your team studded with stars and they're bound to deliver for you. So it's going to be a tough battle for Paarl trying to get their first victory, trying to get the first victory of the SAT20 league. Um, the the Mumbai Indian, the MI Centurion team, of course, is a pretty tough nut to crack. Last question: any particular foresights, any particular predictions for the match? Top scorer, highest wicket taker, of course, the winner, Dinesh and Arjun.
I think we are going into the relative unknowns, so predicting a top scorer or a top wicket taker would be tough. But if I'm gonna put my bet on someone, then it's gonna be Joss Butler for sure. He is a T20 superstar. He knows how to get in early on, take a few balls, and then explode as the power play ends and the middle overs uh, begin. So I think he will be the one in the batting department for us, and then in the bowling department, I'll be looking to Tabrez Shamsi, and his experience would be a good matchup against those strong Mumbai. I mean, MI Cape
MI.
Town's batting lineup. So yeah, MI Cape Town. So yeah, so that would be my pick. Shamsi would be the pick for picking up most wickets, and hopefully we find a way to sneak home a win somehow.
Absolutely. Dinesh, your take?
Well, let me go with the unpopular opinions and unpopular names, because we know
Yep.
Josh Butler, Jason Roy are all capable, and we know how good David Miller is a finisher. I would like to see the best of Corbin Bosch when it comes to batting, because he's considered to be a middle order batter, and he's actually hitting it so well, as long as I remember what happened in the last year in the South African leagues. And as I told Mitchell Van Buren, this is it would be an interesting talent that I would like to see. So I'd be happy if I see these two guys announcing themselves as a potential IPL winnings probably by the next auction. Gobin Bosch unfortunately didn't make it in any of those teams this year around, but is not so far from being picked by any team. So Gobin Bosch and Mitchell Van Buren could be those talents who could actually turn up big at some match. Even if not today, at some match we will see them coming big.
Yeah, the South African players will be key for us, or for any franchise in the league, for them to, eventually win the tournament. They have to perform. As much as we are going to talk about the overseas stars and the big stars, the South African, the young players will be the difference between winning a tournament and finishing around top four, top five. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So looking forward to it.
Yep, yep. The success of franchise league, of course, depends on the
Yeah.
home players and how they perform. So yeah, it's going to be crucial to see how they end up performing. One question before we finally wrap it up. This is, of course, just something which just came to my mind. We see that Obid McCoy is injured, and we hope that he recovers very soon. Both for both for Paarl Royals as well as for us, Rajasthan Royals as well. But if there was an option to go for a replacement of a foreigner, would you guys consider going for Corbin Bosch or Dasun Shanaka, the
I
Maverick
know.
captain who's been just mesmerizing everyone with his performance?
Well, I guessed that this would be a question right at the time that you spelled Obed McCoy is injured. I thought that there would be a suggestion from you that Dasun Chanaka could be a potential replacement. I actually see Dasun Chanaka, even if not by the Royal, would be a good pick for some teams because I still remember during every IPL season there would be some player who would be dropping out for personal reasons or for fitness issues, and
Yeah.
I see I see Dasun Chanaka breaking it. He's actually knocking the walls, but I'm very sure that he'll break the walls, break the doors. Actually, he's been knocking the doors, but he'll break the doors and make an entry to some side in this IPL for sure. Even if not for Royals, because even if Obed McCoy is being replaced by Dasun Shanaka with Jason Holder in the squad, I don't see there would be a balance of having Jason Holder and Dasun Shanaka both in the squad, with Trent Bolt and Josh Butler being the other overseas bowlers. But I see Dasun Shanaka, even if, at least if not for Royals, it could be a sure spot on selection for some squad in this IPL.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Rajasthan has to replace Obed with a fast bowler. There is no point, picking another all rounder when you don't have this bench strength to, complement Trent Bolt. Because fast bowling, as much as we like to have all rounders in the team, fast bowling is very important. And with Prasid also injured and Trent Bolt being, only playing domestic leagues, he won't be, at his best at the start. So I think we have to replace Ubaid Bakar with a fast bowler. And if there is another option that might come up due to any circumstance, then yeah, we should look to have Dasun Chanaka or any all rounder come up in the squad. Yeah. So hopefully it'll be a great pick by Royals whenever the pick is announced. And most importantly, Obed should get fit by the IPL, if not
Absolutely.
earlier.
Absolutely. Too many ifs and buts, but the most
Yeah,
important thing is that our Royal Obed McCoy should get back to match fitness. So here's praying for you, Obed. Get well
yeah,
soon. Let's see you back in the pitch sooner. Well, that's pretty much it from our side this week on Royals on the Road. Dinesh and Arjun, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, opinions, and insights. A special round of thanks to Mehul, who's been looking after the things from behind the scenes for this podcast. Thanks,
yep,
guy. Thanks, Mehul. And yep, don't forget to like and share this video. And if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to our channel. Follow us on our social media handles in Twitter and Instagram. Don't miss out on the interesting content and the amazing contests that we constantly bring you. Uh, so do consider subscribing to our social media handles. That's it from my side. Here's Super Royal Upayan signing off. May everyone have a brilliant Sunday and a wonderful week ahead. And hopefully, our boys in pink show true royal spirit in South Africa and have a great tournament. As they say
Yep.
there, come on, boys, let's bring the keys like royals. I think keys
Yep.
means spirit in Africans. And from our side, hope you bring the Halla Bowl flavor. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Hello, all guys. Happy weekend.
Yep. Allah Bol.